Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. I'm just going to give a couple minutes to let everybody jump in. So just sit tight. We'll be with you in just a couple minutes. Thanks. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining this afternoon. I really appreciate you guys taking some time to listen to us talk. Um, we're going to talk today a little bit about the cloud and about some of the changes that have happened over the past few months, which I'm sure all of us have felt. And then as well, just understanding MIP in the cloud and kind of the nuances for that a little bit more specifically. So my name is Tyler Bauer. I'm the director of cloud and hosting services for Cloud at Work. Cloud at Work is a Net at Work sister company. Net at Work is the largest Sage partner as well as an MIP partner in the ecosystem. We have a team of excellent application specialists, a team dedicated specifically to MIP. We've been around for quite some time. Just a couple of details as far as housekeeping. If we're going to talk for probably about a half hour, nothing crazy. My favorite part about doing these is really getting your guys' perspective and feedback. So be sure to type in any questions that you have in the bottom, and we'll certainly get to those at the end. And you can type in those questions anytime. It doesn't just have to be at the end. You can type them as we go. So the way I like to start these presentations is not to really slide anybody to death, and you'll notice that as I go through. Um, I'm sorry. One other housekeeping item, as is the new normal. If you hear children screaming in the background, I promise nobody is harmed in the making of this webinar. So please don't be alarmed. It's just my kids acting crazy. Um, so when we're looking at the world today, right, we're seeing the cloud in multiple different fashions across media, right? Everybody seems to be using it more and more, and that's really because of this situation that was just kind of tossed onto our laps, right? As far as remote working and as far as being away from a physical office and being confined to our homes. So things like Zoom and meeting sites have been very aggressively up as far as usage goes. And then as well, even like platforms like Azure and AWS, including Cloud at Work, we've seen a lot of more migrations to the cloud because of the anticipation that this type of situation isn't going to go away from a business standpoint. So when you're kind of looking at the situation and why this is all happening, there's a lot of different theories, but mine is mainly that when you look at traditional business, from a business application standpoint, most companies still are brick and mortar, right? Meaning have servers that are on site that are either being managed by an in-house IT team or an outsourced managed service or service provider local. um, those systems are definitely viable and worked for many years. Um, and really, as more and more users, as younger generations come into the workforce, I think we've been more acceptable to remote working, and I've seen that shift. I think we've been more open to new ideas, just not necessarily in such an aggressive stance where it's overnight we're going to jump right in and all of a sudden everybody's doing it. So the cloud has really helped lift up those organizations who need those types of resources overnight in order to even just stay operational because of the lack of capability or productivity within their on-prem infrastructure. the the reason why you're seeing again that huge influx and adoption to the as a service or cloud model is really based on just the overall acceptance of applications in today's cloud environments. So early on, CRM and HR applications were really prevalent in the cloud and had their swing. I would say their hockey stick swing a few years ago. Um, the reason for that is because the majority of those applications were written and born during the cloud area, right? So they were written as a cloud first application. Most ERP platforms have been around for quite some time, doing things like high end accounting or doing things like specific nonprofit financials or doing things like manufacturing or distribution. Those are more specialized, nuanced solutions, and really the ways that they've been able to enhance those products have been around modules or around adding different components around it, which we call ISVs or third parties. Um, that really is how you define your experience and really customize it, which has really made a big swing back in today's application landscape as well. So one, the big reason for the ERP adoption is just new applications being born that are already SaaS based, companies developing new multi-tenant SaaS offerings who are delivering software and producing software, and then as well the acceptance of cloud organizations like Cloud at Work, who can really take all of those different core components and third-party components and deliver an exceptional experience that way without limitation. So you're starting to see that growth. So just a couple of stats from 2017 to 2020, again, 3 short years, and this stuff is moving very, very fast. I'm sure, these stats are definitely before COVID, so I'm sure they're very different now. But just in 3 short years, right, you're talking 10 percentage point swings as far as business across the board adopting different methodologies and different ways of delivering IT for their business. The reason why you're seeing these shifts towards away from on-premise and towards as a service cloud solutions, private cloud, hybrid cloud, is because technology. Everybody kind of thought, 10 years ago that technology was definitely growing at a rapid pace, but what they didn't realize was how fast and how compounded that pace is going to keep up. Things like cybersecurity, things like authentication, things like performance and productivity, things like virtualization and cloud. These things have been happening, at such a rapid pace that it's impossible for companies who are focused elsewhere to really invest the dollars necessary to take advantage of all of that. Hence why as a service is really taken off, because organizations can tap into a small slice of that and pay a monthly fee rather than try and be the expert in design and architecture for their own solution. The reason why this major reason why this has been so prevalent and so aggressive is because of cybersecurity, in my opinion. So if you think back 13 years ago, in 2007, really there was little mention of cybersecurity. I mean, you saw it in the news, maybe in 2007, 2008 around Target. I remember hearing about the Target hacks and that data being leaked and the credit card information around the holidays. I'm not sure what specific year that was, but that's really the event that stands out in my mind. And I can remember entering into kind of the IT world and starting my career in cloud and really thinking, I wonder if this is here to stay or if this is just big government, big company tactics to target large vulnerable organizations. It turns out it was both, right? I mean, it was here to stay, but it didn't discriminate as far as who it was going to impact, right? We learned over time, when you fast forward to 2012, 2013, that the threats became a lot more sophisticated, a lot more blanketing, is a term I'll use, where they kind of started fishing with nets rather than rods, right? And they quickly realized that they don't need to go steal stuff in order to get money. They can actually hold things ransom. So that's what really has started to take off. Starting about 2012, 2013. was companies were looking for ways to infiltrate into corporate data, hold it ransom, and encrypt it, and essentially, get paid in cryptocurrency to release that data. And those threats, that sophistication has just increased and increased and increased over time. I'm sure you all are aware of the MIP outage that has recently happened at their hosting facilities. That was actually their single tenant environment, so that was their most isolated environment. I know that in talking with some of the customers that have come over from MIP, they have been very nondescript, non-communicative around what exactly happened there. We're kind of piecing it together, but I for sure believe that there was a ransomware threat to the extent of what was held hostage or left the data center, or data residing at the facility. I'm not quite sure, but I do know that the response was not typical of that of a tier 4 provider. So I know that maybe even some of you were impacted from that, but I can tell you that everyone on this call knows someone who was impacted, or maybe have been impacted themselves by some sort of cybersecurity threat since 2007. That's for sure. These things aren't going to go away, and especially because if you look at the new landscape of how we're doing business, we're essentially saying, okay, we've had systems that were secured and connected to via a local area network for many, many, many years. Maybe we had some people outside, but for the most part, people would come in, plug into their desk, and go to work. Now, overnight, every single person who connects into those servers is connecting in remotely. It puts a lot of strain on the data center, but as well, it leaves a lot of foundational weaknesses when you start opening up outside traffic and unsecurely allowing outside devices connecting into your data center. It can really provide a lot of problems if you're not doing it the right way, if you're using freeware tools, or if you're using things like VPNs and so forth to connect to unsecured devices. It can be very, very, very problematic. So these types of threats, I feel in the next couple months, you're going to start to see a lot more different attempts pop up, possibly even, more and more, I guess, stories of vulnerability pop up even in the coming weeks, just of what's happened already. I don't really feel like we have a good grasp on that just yet. But the reason why these things happen are people. We're all human, and if you're used to being in a cubicle or an office next to XYZ person and maybe getting up and asking and saying, hey, does this link look okay? Or, hey, did you get that email from Bill? That doesn't exist anymore, right? That type of look and feel doesn't exist right now, and it's kind of the new normal for all of us. So the less communication, the more isolation of individuals and humans, the more you're going to see cyber preying going on. So let's go through some of the cloud at work options here. So the first piece that I want to talk about is why customers are coming to cloud at work who are using MIP. The number one reason why MIP customers choose cloud at work is because we have an application first mentality. So everything from every one of our cloud products, which we'll go through in a minute, we're architected with our applications that we support in mind. So when you look at a cloud provider, maybe let's use AWS or Azure, and you start to look at cloud services from those types of general providers, typically what you're going to find is that those organizations, while they may get involved as far as is your infrastructure greenlit or not, that's about as far as it goes. So we take a very, very in-depth approach with customer experience, and we take that through the application. So we want to make sure that you're not burdened with trying to figure out if you're having an app problem or a cloud problem, right? We want to handle that entire solution, that entire as a service experience for you. The second reason is there are other companies out there, including MIP themselves, who know the application and have cloud resources available. But There are no cloud companies out there around the MIP solution who know the application and have every enterprise capability from a cloud perspective available to its customers. We're going to go through our products here in a little bit, and I'll explain about our services and why they're extremely unique just by themselves as a cloud perspective. But that's extremely, extremely important. And the third is our customer experience team. We focus from the day one as far as migrations go, all the way through the after go live support program to really make sure that our customers feel at home and our customers are over communicated to. We invest every dollar that we can into those pieces, and that is where we set ourselves apart. It's not just about how good we can sell a solution, but it's about how we are able to support it and create an experience after the fact. We're in the business of creating long-term relationships with customers, and that's what we're all about. So just quick background on Cloud at Work. So we started Cloud at Work about 2.5 years ago, and I came on board with Net at Work about 3 years ago. I have a background in cloud computing for many years, about 10 years, and when we came, Net at Work had been doing cloud computing for, I would say, about 8 years, and primarily the products and services that we delivered were built on top of large cloud platforms like AWS and Azure. And while those cloud platforms, are the largest cloud computing resources in the world, when you're trying to deliver a custom application experience in the cloud, it becomes very difficult to do that unless you have full control over the application and you're able to keep that level of flexibility and that level of detail for your customers and its experience. So when you look at how we came to market, our initial product was our virtual private cloud product. So we came to market essentially trying to create an enterprise cloud solution that would give 99.99% availability uptime, would be built in tier 4 data centers across the US, have 24/7 support, and then have a dedicated, fully isolated cloud environment. So why this is extremely important is because when you look at MIP, you look at Sage, you look at all these different cloud companies who focus on applications, all of them, for the most part, are doing some type of multi-tenancy, whether it's at the actual server level or tools that are being used to support that. What those are is that's a way to cut a corner. It's a way to lower your price as a provider. By cutting that corner and lowering that price, you're creating vulnerabilities. So the more that you're sharing, the more that you're allowing others to connect in, you're sacrificing performance, security, and availability. With what we're doing with this product is we're saying, here is your own isolated, dedicated cloud. You're not tied in or sharing resources or licensing with anyone else. If someone else is having issues around performance, security, availability because of their own instance, that's all going to be isolated to them. That's not going to have any impact on you. And there's no back-end sharing of tooling or any type of monitoring or resource allocation tools that we're using behind the scenes that are used for many, right? There's no common threads between customers. Also, we decided that we want to take a very strong stance on data redundancy and data presence. Why? Because we don't want our customers to be in a vulnerable position. So with every single cloud product that we're going to talk about here, we have the same base data policy no matter what. We have production data that is on SSD disk. We have hourly snapshots that we retain for 48 hours, stored on a separate network, and I'll explain in a minute why that's important. And we have daily backups that we retain for 30 days, stored in our separate data center, which we have 2 main data centers, Philadelphia and in Texas. They're all on separate networks. So what this means is every single customer who's using our cloud resources has data in 3 locations out of the box, no matter what. So in the case of ransomware, let's say, one of your employees clicks on a link that they shouldn't have, they impact your environment, and it takes down your environment and starts to encrypt your environment. We have copies of your data to the hour on a separate network locally that we can restore to very quickly. And as well, we have copies of your data in a separate data center, altogether that's stored for 30 days. We also have available disaster recovery resources that we can actually do real-time replication of dual environments. So we can actually fail over to an environment within a guaranteed 4-hour recovery time objective and a 1-hour recovery point objective. These are the types of things that, cloud companies definitely have in the marketplace. I feel very strongly that we're we're priced aggressively when compared to those types of cloud organizations. We definitely can deliver on them, and we have a fantastic offering by itself. But there's no companies who are focused on MIP who are doing this level of cloud computing and are able to deliver that as a service, as a bundle to its customers. Quickly, we began to realize that for some customers who predominantly were under 5 users, that virtual private solution really wasn't an option for them just because of the return on investment. And one thing that we do very uniquely is we do focus on ROI with our customers, but we also want to start to create expectations and create evaluation processes that mimic what our customers' goals are, and we help them identify those. So we created Hybrid Secure because it has dedication as far as application servers and database servers. But on the back end, there are some shared tooling that we use in order to lower the price point. Now, again, there is no such thing as bad architecture or poor architecture. There's just bad expectation setting. So while I do feel very strongly as a technologist that virtual private is a way better solution, it's as long as the customer understands the expectation and understands exactly what type of risk they're signing up for, there is no such thing as a bad solution. So we came in and doing this multi-tenant type solution, and we wanted to do it better. So we came in and did it the right way. We kept our same data policy, for instance, of snapshots for 48 hours, daily backups for 30. We started to create that same 24/7, 365 experience around applications and limitations of applications. Put them in the same tier 4 data center. We bundled in SQL licensing, bundled in Excel licensing, and we were able to get to a price point of about $125 per user. So that way, customers who are 1 or 2 or 3 users were able to get their data securely to the cloud. So really was a great solution that we created about a year and a half ago, and a lot of customers take advantage of it. And then finally was our secure backup. I've been in technology for about 12 years, and I was shocked to find out how many companies think that they're actually doing secure offsite backups or have copies of backups that are readily available, and they really don't. We had a couple of customers last year who had actually events in their office, both natural and unnatural, that caused those offices to perish, and along with it, their technology investment. They lost all of their data because their backups that were on tape that they thought were going off site were actually corrupt, and nobody was checking them. So we created a very easy way to get data off site into our data centers and securely store that. And it's $50 a month for 100 gig, and it's pretty straightforward. There's nothing flashy about it, except that you know what type of cloud capabilities we have. You know how important this type of data is to us because we support the applications. So we wanted to give a very easy way to take MIP data and put it in the cloud. That being said, is there any questions? I think we can maybe dive into some and maybe talk through. So the first question I see here is, can we look at the software in the cloud? Does it look the same as we have it on our server? Any differences? So that's a great question. The software will look exactly the same. So basically what we'll give you is a published application. So on your regular desktop that you see on your screen, you would see icons on the left-hand side. We would actually publish an icon to your users' machines and allow you guys to either go to that from that machine, or you can go to a web portal and launch the application that way as well. And the application will look and feel and run exactly the same as it would as it would locally for you. Will we be able to have a copy of the presentation? No problem. Yeah, happy to get that out, and I'll make sure our marketing team sends out a thank you email with the presentation attached. Also on our website, I believe there'll be a recording of this as well, so you guys can check that out. Any other questions? Okay, I see here. Whoops, I changed my slide. So it says, my agency was impacted by a single tenant setup of MIP Cloud with community brands. Event happened more than a month ago, going on 2 months. Up to now, we don't have access. So if, I didn't want to get into it. I wasn't really sure who was impacted and who wasn't. We can help you. So we can certainly help you if you guys are having trouble with the community brand site. I know that their resolution was to try and persuade customers over to their multi-tenant offering and move to AWS. I would be very hesitant about that. I would definitely use this as an opportunity to evaluate different solutions and different providers. Just as a solution provider, if this happened within their single tenant environment, most of the time multi-tenant environments have less features as far as security and protection when compared to single tenant. So that's just, again, a complete assumption, but that's why I would be hesitant. I would want to understand more in order to protect your customers' data. So if you have a question, we can certainly, in specific to an event, or if you're still having issues with access, certainly reach out. We can help you. The next question is, we currently VPN to our software from a remote location. Is this feature faster? Yes. So VPNs are definitely a secure way to connect. They are feature rich, but the reason why I feel like you may be experiencing production issues or performance issues is possibly a slew of things. So I'm gonna just throw out some items. VPN does not have any type, it's basically just connecting you to your data center, right? If your data center does not have a ton of bandwidth associated with it, right? By you creating a VPN and connecting in, you're consuming bandwidth, right? So at our data center, we have burstable internet up to 100 gig, right? It's a lot of internet. So as well, we have a ton of centralized storage as well as power capabilities, HVAC capabilities, bleeding edge technology from SANs and hosts and servers and so forth. So these are all things that play into performance. So I'd have to understand a little bit more about maybe some of the performance issues that you're having, but most companies have like I said, are set up to access locally, so they don't need a ton of horsepower as far as remote users connecting in. Once you then flip that on its head and everybody's connecting in, now you're consuming a ton of bandwidth, everyone at the same time from that one central location. And if you don't have bandwidth in place as well as redundancies in place to handle that load, it can really cause some problems. So maybe that might be something you're seeing. I'm gonna show you my contact info in a minute, and you can certainly feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to talk through it with you. Can you leave it open all day, or does it time you out? We can set it for both, right? So it's completely customizable as far as that goes. That's really up to you and your security standards and policies. Some prefer to have it just automatically time out, and some prefer to have it, as just a freedom to keep open. What should we do? Yep. So absolutely. So a couple of the questions were mainly about the current MIP situation. I have talked to probably about 30 customers who were impacted by that, and like I said, we can certainly help you. We have a solution that is secure. It is redundant. We will be able to help you migrate and give you guys environments that you can migrate to. Um, if you have any questions, you can certainly call me. This is my direct line, and this is my email address. It goes right to my inbox. You can check out our website, um, but certainly reach out if you have any questions at all. I'll make sure that our marketing team sends out this info as well, so you have it. And if you need anything from us, anything at all, just let us know. And like I said, we can certainly help you. Is there any other questions? There were some specific questions about the MIP outage, and we could get into that if you wanted to, but certainly don't want to consume it. Okay, I think that's it. Well, listen, I want to thank everyone for your time. I really appreciate it. Again, reach out if you have any more questions, and we'll make sure that we send this presentation out to everyone. Really appreciate it, and everybody stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you very much.